Hello everybody, it's the Bricklord here, back with another Ninjago video, and today is a video I have been wanting to make for quite a while now, but I'm talking about 10 overlooked battles and action scenes in Ninjago. And so what do I kind of mean by this? Well, in Ninjago, we've had countless action scenes and battles throughout the course of Ninjago's 13 seasons, and there is some battles and action scenes that are super memorable and are brought up again and again in the Ninjago community. Examples would be, Lloyd versus Harumi in season 8, or Kai versus Ray, Cole versus Jay, or like the season 4 finale battle. Different scenes like that are really good scenes and are brought up again and again. But today I'm going to talk about 10 battles or action scenes that I feel are really good, that just really are not mentioned a whole lot in the Ninjago community, in like videos or anything like that, just are not talked about enough, and I really do feel that they are good scenes. And so today I'm going to talk about why I really do enjoy these scenes, and also a little bit of why they are sort of overlooked. And I hope to kind of explain that for some people. Otherwise, this will be maybe a slightly longer video than I've put out recently, but I hope you guys will enjoy this video, and hopefully you guys can kind of find something interesting out of this. And otherwise, without too much else, we'll get started with this. Also, a disclaimer that this is in no like particular order. It's just 10 battles or action scenes that I enjoy. They're not being like ranked, so the first is not the worst and the last is not the best. The only kind of ranked-ish order I'll follow is I'll start with the earliest seasons I've chosen scenes from, and then go from earliest to most recent. Otherwise, like I said, first is not the worst and last is not the best. So yeah, otherwise just sit back, enjoy, and I will talk about my 10 overlooked battles and action scenes in Ninjago. And the first scene I'm going to talk about is Kai versus the Nindroids in the X1 Ninja Charger in the episode Codename Arcturus. And it's kind of ironic I'm starting with this scene. Of all the scenes I have chosen, I do feel this is the one that is maybe talked about the most, but I do still feel that it's not talked about quite as much. And I think this scene is incredible. We really honestly and truly have not got a scene quite like this in Ninjago since this scene, and so this scene has really stayed unique, and I like that. I think this scene is incredible, and we, like I said, haven't gotten anything quite like this in Ninjago in any of our seasons after this season. The only instances I can think of something similar-ish to this season fight is in like season 1 and 2. There was a couple instances where they were on moving vehicles and fought, but nothing quite like this. And this scene has an awesome feel with Kai being hot-headed, chasing after these Nindroids in this huge convoy, and then starts just like throwing fire at Nindroids and starts just a whole brawl on top of a moving vehicle and stuff. And it's cool how the X1 Ninja Charger that Pixels is controlling is driving behind. And then there's just this huge moving battle, and it really does keep you on edge. And there's just incredible shots as well. And it's just so fun seeing Kai being hot-headed and like going, you're fired to Nindroids, and then beating them up. And it was just such an enjoyable sequence, and again, we have not got anything like it. And I don't think this, as it is overlooked, there's not much why it's overlooked, but I do feel it's not talked about as much as it should be. The next scene I'm going to talk about is the Moon Rover chase scene, and this scene comes from the episode The Void, and I guess ironically enough, this is another moving vehicle fight scene, which kind of contradicts what I said, not being able to think of one after that scene from the Codename Arcturus, but irregardless, I think this scene is incredible. One, the setting is so unique. Two, the vehicles are unique. And three, it was such an enjoyable sequence. And kind of before. We haven't seen a scene quite like this, even though this is another moving vehicle scene. Um, Nothing has been done like this again, because there was countless numbers of these like moon rovers. I don't know how many exactly, but it was a cool setting they were in. And I kind of liked how, as the chase was going, the Nindroids kept slipping down in numbers and either crashing or falling or getting destroyed or something. And it was a great scene. And then eventually the ninja went on the offense and started jumping to the different moon rovers and started fighting the Nindroids hand to hand. And it was it was so well choreographed. And also, there was an incredible soundtrack for this whole scene as well. And then, nearing closer to the end of the fight, like the last couple moon rovers that the Nindroids have are crashing. There's only one left, and it's the one General Cryptor is driving. And then, Kai basically jumps on it, kicks Cryptor, and says, "You can keep your gold," and then takes the launch key, and then that about ends the scene. But it was so incredible, and again, not enough people talk about this incredible scene, so it's so well done. The next scene I'm going to talk about is the first tournament fight that happened in the episode Only One Can Remain, and I think that this whole sequence of scenes is severely overlooked. And the prime reason, in my opinion, why it's severely overlooked is due to the episode Versus that comes right after this episode. Because when people think of the word, tournament of elements, or I should say words really, but they immediately think of Versus because of the tournament fights in that episode, Cole versus Jay, Kai versus Ash, etc. And I think they just overlook this whole sequence of fight scenes that happened in this episode of Tournament of Elements, which this officially did kick off the tournament. And there's great fights in there. Cole versus Elemental Masters versus each other, Lloyd versus Elemental Masters, Kai versus Skylar, Kai versus Karloff, Jay versus Bolobo. Like, there was good fight scenes all throughout this. They were all relatively short, but put them all together in a large sequence, and it worked so well. And I think there was, again, really solid fights. And again, I think it's just severely overlooked because of the also equally great fights that happened in Versus. But I do think that this scene or sequence is so well done, and it just is not talked about enough. And that's unfortunate because there was a lot of good things that did come from this sequence. And I mean, yeah, I don't have too much else to say now, but yeah, it really is severely overlooked, which is unfortunate because, again, there was great stuff, and it really and truly does need to be mentioned and brought up more and more. The next scene I'm going to talk about is the scene that inspired me to make this video, the parachute scene from season 4. And I will just absolutely say it now, I adore this scene, and this scene has everything I would want from an incredible action and fight scene. There is intensity, there's good lines, there's emotion, there is just everything you could ask for. And this scene could not have been done better. I think the reason it is pretty overlooked, I don't know, to me, I think it just has to do in part with the rest of the episode of Spellbound, where they have, like, Garmadon's flashback history stuff with Chen and other things like that, that I think people just remember and talk about more than this scene. But this is so incredible, and everything worked. I like seeing the different elemental masters, be so aggressive towards each other and intense. And we have not got another scene like this where people are just falling out of the sky with parachutes. And yeah, it was just so incredible. And then, yeah, I mean, all the elemental masters duking it out, trying to get parachutes while just falling out of the sky is incredible. And then at the end, there was great emotion where there was only one parachute left, and it was Lloyd and Garmadon. And Garmadon's like, this is an easy decision. And Lloyd's like, you're right, and leaves it for Garmadon, and then ends up making his elemental dragon. Incredible scene, and I can't praise it enough. The next scene I'm going to talk about is the incredible bounty fight scene at the beginning of Ghost Story. And again, I think this scene is very overlooked, obviously, but this scene is a really good, intense fight scene. And it starts off with Moro chasing down the bounty with his, newly possessed Lloyd energy dragon, and then hops on the bounty, and Zane and Kai take Wu and try to get Wu so he can get ink and parchment, and leaves Cole and Jay to fight Moro. Then Nia joins in as Samurai X and starts duking it out with Moro, and then eventually Moro kind of turns the tables, beats Cole, Jay, and Nia, and then eventually starts going to try to hunt down and stop Kai, Zane, and Wu. And then, gets to the point where he's fighting Zane and Kai. He kind of takes Zane out, and it's a Kai Moro duel, which was a big part of season 5, which was really good. But I think the entirety of this entire scene is overlooked by the fact of a later scene in this episode, which is Moro's backstory, which is incredible, but I do think it very overshadows this incredible fight scene at the beginning, which is unfortunate because, again, there's a lot of great things that happened in it, and good dynamic between characters and funny moments. And so, yeah, it's just very overlooked, and it's not necessarily bad because we did get a good scene right after it, but I do feel and wish that this scene was mentioned and brought up and just talked about a little bit more in the Ninjago community. The next scene I'm going to talk about is the icicle fight scene from season 5 in the episode Grave Danger. And along with the parachute scene, this was the other scene that inspired me to make this video. And just like that parachute scene, I absolutely adore this scene. I think that it was such an incredible fight scene with some just great raw emotion and good action, hilarious lines as well. Everything just worked so well, and the setting again was unique, a really cool ice maze, and the way the ninja were fighting as well was awesome because they were using like these icicles from the ice maze because they did not have their arrow blade weapons. And it was just cool to see kind of each of the ninja take a turn fighting Moro. First it was Jay, then it was Zane, then Cole, and then like Zane again. And there was just great fights. And, Zane, especially in this whole scene, really held his own and put up an incredible fight against Moro, actually. And it was really refreshing to see that. Also, Cole didn't do too bad as well either. I mean, I would say that Jay probably did the worst in this fight. But yeah, I mean, and also Kai was not there until like the very end. But I like also how Cole came in and saved Zane once as well. It was so good. And as for why this scene is just kind of overlooked, I think it's just in part due to just the rest of the episode. There was the other cool rooms before this that had good riddles and the incredible realm crystal stuff after this. And so I think this is still an incredible scene, just overlooked by even stuff or other stuff that's even better in a lot of people's opinion. The next scene I'm going to talk about is the Sky Pirate attack in the episode Misfortune Rising. And there's not necessarily a major reason that I feel this scene is overlooked. I think maybe in part of it is just due to the other scenes with like Jay wishing with Nauticon and Jay and Nia moments and stuff. But this scene is really not talked about that much. But again, like a lot of the other scenes, I think it's a really solid sequence and a great scene and has great moments. It starts off with like the misfortunes keep flying through the city, kind of just destroying it. The ninjas start running in and they're, going in pairs for their own safety. And so, Kai and Jay, Zane and Nia, and Cole and Lloyd. And, then there's a little bit of scene with each pair. Cole and Lloyd fight Dogshank and Flintlock, or actually, sorry, Dogshank and Doubloon, and then Zane and Nia fight Flintlock, and then Kai and Jay actually encounter Nauticon, and then Kai is taken, and then he's out. But there's just great fights all throughout this, and then eventually, the ninja are, closing in. They have to get past like Monkey Wrench and stuff, and then Cole's like wandering kind of around Misfortune's Keep, and then he comes in contact with Flintlock, and Flintlock's like, I ain't afraid to shoot you in the back, and then Flintlock just shoots, and then obviously since Cole is a ghost, then the bullet, bounces around, and it's just going and flying around, and then blows up the realm crystal or shatters it, and then so Cole takes the lantern and then runs. But I think this was a great fight scene, and it was, even though it was another attack on Ninjago City, it felt different and it felt refreshing, and that's what makes me enjoy this scene just so much. The next scene I'm going to talk about is the final fight with the ninja versus Nauticon in the finale of Skybound. And I will just say, boy oh boy, is this fight incredible. I just love the intense action, the emotion, the good lines all throughout this entire scene. This scene is just so well done. And I think I'll just get right into, I think, why it's just overlooked. And that's just in part due to what happens right after the scene, which is Nia's death, Nauticon's demise, and the time reversal, which is just a very controversial thing at that, but it's talked about a whole bunch and, is always brought up for one reason or another, and the actual fight scene is just not mentioned, but boy, is this fight just intense, and it is emotional at times because, the ninja are just getting picked off one by one and getting just blasted by Nauticon and then turned into like a gold or bronze statue and just fall on the ground, and just you hear the thud of them basically being defeated. And I mean, it was intense. Nauticon was at his strongest, and the ninja were doing everything in their power to basically try and stop Nauticon. And yeah, I mean, this battle was just awesome, and I do love rewatching this bit of scene from the finale. Like, it's fun to just go back and see the ninja fight Nauticon with everything they had, and like I said, it is emotional. Depending on who is your favorite ninja. If you were a Zane fan, this scene really hurt you because Zane was out for the count first. If you liked Kai or Cole, though, they were out pretty quick as well. But yeah, it was a great fight, but unfortunately overlooked. The next scene I'm going to talk about is the last part of the fight scene from episode 70, The Attack, and honestly, the episode as a whole is really not talked about, but I guess more so this fight scene as well. And as you guys know, I thoroughly enjoy Hands of Time, and I personally actually really enjoy this fight scene. It starts off where the ninja just finished beating a lot of the Vermilion, and then the Hands of Time fly up and join the fight, and the ninja then are kind of like thrown off and then have to play defense, and then Acronix goes after Master Wu, Kai protects him and stuff, and then Kai is eventually squaring off against Crux with the slow motion time blade, which is cool to see. And then more Vermilion end up joining the fight, and so then Zane, Nia, and Cole kind of are taking them on while Lloyd, Jay, and Kai are trying to, keep the Hands of Time busy. And it's all really intense and really good. And, and then we get more of Kai and Crux squaring off, which is just great to see them, and because they had such a great and unique dynamic throughout the entire season. And it was great to see more of that in this fight where their emotions and everything was just running high. And then it gets to a point where basically everybody's squaring off, and then Cole just comes in and slams the ground with his element of earth and makes everybody just go flying, both his fellow ninja and the enemy of the Hands of Time, which is just hilarious to see. And then by the end, then Lloyd has the slow motion time blade thrown to him and squares off against Crux in one last intense fight. Lloyd, doesn't give up. They are successful with a short victory that is, then, yeah, obviously short, and that ends the fight. And the last scene I'm going to talk about is the Cliffs of Hysteria fight from season 12. And this fight is super, super cool in my opinion. I like just how unique of a fight that this is, because the ninja basically shot up grappling hooks and rope to the top of the cliffs, and they're basically fighting enemies while rock climbing in a way, and it's just a super cool fight, and it's a unique setting that we have not seen again, and it was cool to see like the enemies of the red visors flying and blasting at the ninja while they were climbing. And then the ninja, at first were just going to try to climb faster and realize that that obviously was not going to work. Then they basically gear up, pull out their weapons, and are getting ready to just take on the red visors, and because they know that's what they have to do. And we get just some incredible fights where then Lloyd basically goes swinging on his rope and starts, blocking the blast from the red visors, and then goes head to head with a couple. Nia joins in and fights a couple. And then also during this fight, Cole's rope gets blasted, and he almost falls, and Nia's like telling him, "You need to climb faster," and he's like, "I am climbing." And while Nia's also fighting more red visors and stuff, really good stuff. I think the reason this scene is overlooked is just in part due to kind of the next episode of what happens in the maze, and also maybe kind of the funny stuff with Shifty at the beginning of this episode. But nevertheless, this is an amazing fight scene with a cool setting, and again, I wish it was definitely talked about more in the community. And that now concludes my video on the 10 overlooked battles and action scenes in Ninjago. I hope you guys did enjoy this video, and let me know what you thought of my choices, and if there's any others you would add. And yeah, I hope you guys really, again, did enjoy this video. And as a thanks, if you guys did watch the entirety of this video, I did not mention it at the beginning, but as you guys probably noticed at the beginning of this video, there was a brand new, entirely different intro, and that is completely in thanks to Four Corners. And I've talked about him a bit before and thanked him again and again, but me and him got together and made a brand new intro, and I cannot thank him enough for doing that for me. It turned out amazing. And so I will leave a link to his channel in the description. If you are not already subscribed to him, please go do. He is an incredible person and one of the nicest people I have met through YouTube. And so yeah, just an incredible person. So please go check him out and thank him. And otherwise, yeah, again, hope you enjoyed this video. There isn't too much else I would like to talk about. So yeah, otherwise, without anything else to say, I will see you all in the next video. So, bye!